So it seems Donald Trump has made up his mind to drag the US into Benjamin Netanyahu's illegal war on Iran, even if it could potentially have US soldiers killed right across the Middle East. The US military has sent American B-2 stealth bombers to the US island territory of Guam in the Pacific Ocean, implying that it is only a matter of time before the US formally joins the illegal war against Iran started by terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu.
We have gotten indication just by flight trackers and online postings that multiple U.S. B-2 bombers appeared to have been airborne, headed west out of the United States across the Pacific. It was first picked up on flight trackers, actually posted online about 1 o'clock Saturday morning. Air traffic control communications indicated that there were multiple B-2 bombers accompanied by air refueling tankers, which they would need if, in fact, they were carrying what payload these B-2 bombers are capable of carrying. These are the B-2 bombers that are capable of carrying those 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs we've heard so much about, the type that would be used if, in fact, the U.S. decided to join these Israeli strikes on Iran, the type of bombs that would be used to try and penetrate those nuclear facilities deep, deep, deep underground. For instance, the Fordo.
It could also mean that Trump is simply trying to scare Iran. What has caused the flutter across the Middle East is the fact that these stealth bombers have moved with a refueling fighter jet. Many, however, believe that the US wouldn't like to deploy B-2 stealth bombers 9,500 kilometers away from Iran if the attack on Tehran was imminent. They argue that the US would ideally position these bombers closer to Iran, such as Diego Garcia, which is just over 4,000 kilometers away from Tehran. But using Diego Garcia would require an approval from the UK. And in the event that the UK grants that approval, then it would make itself a legitimate target for Iranian attacks. Tehran has already made it clear that anyone found to be joining Israel in its attack on Iran in any shape or form would be considered a legitimate target. Another indication that the US attack on Iran could be imminent is how the Israeli lobby has now deployed its foot soldiers masquerading as experts to explain the benefits of this illegal war. Listen to this clown on Channel 4 in the UK. Pay attention to his name first, and you would understand where he's coming from.
How would the US avert another one of those forever wars that Donald Trump used to be so passionately against if he were to strike Tehran?
Well, it depends how you describe a forever war. I would argue that Iraq and Afghanistan, the two longest wars in American history, where the standard for victory was never could the U.S. win, but when would it leave and what would it leave behind? Those are 20-year propositions. We're not talking about a 20-year proposition.
Are you sure?
It doesn't mean that there won't be escalation. Well, look, in order to have a 20-year war, you need a sustained capacity to essentially oppose or keep the United States militarily preoccupied. And then you need a set of objectives on the part of the United States which go beyond simply trying to inflict a devastating blow on Iran's nuclear facilities. I see no chance of a deployment of the largest projection of military power since the Second Iraq War. No.
You don't think Iran will retaliate, though? You don't think Iran will retaliate and this will escalate and who knows where it all will end?
Well, but it's the who knows where it ever ends proposition that I think is frightening, to be sure.
So according to him, Iran would sit idle even when it faces an existential crisis following the bombing on its nuclear facility by the US. This is only possible if Israel can completely destroy every single missile that Iran has at its disposal. I wonder which cave or bunker this so-called expert has been living in for the last 8 days. He just had to spend some time on social media to understand just how ignorant he is about the Iranian military might. Alternatively, He should have sent a WhatsApp message to Netanyahu to check how he is feeling. However, this expert hit the nail on the head when she spoke on Al Arabiya TV.
And I don't think the nuclear program is really the problem.
Of course, Netanyahu never wanted any talks with Iran because this bloodthirsty terrorist's ultimate goal was to bomb the Islamic Republic and throw it into a chaos. Just like he managed to achieve it so successfully in Iraq and Libya. He wants a slave as the head of the state in Iran, just like he has managed all across the Arab world. Anyone who dares to stand up to this terrorist will be eliminated with the American help. And this time is no different. In the US, regardless of who the president is, the individual is always at the beck and call of the rogue settler colony called Israel. That's the flipping truth. Do you know the irony? This man called Donald Trump secured the second term, pledging to never repeat the past mistakes of his predecessors in attacking sovereign countries. He even mocked Barack Obama in 2011, claiming that he would attack Iran to ensure his victory in elections.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
His director of intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who first said that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear weapons program before performing a spectacular U-turn after Trump said that she didn't know anything, had released this message as part of her own campaign in 2020.
Trump's actions last night in bombing the Baghdad airport with the targeted killing of Iran's top military general was an act of war, with no authorization or declaration of war from Congress. He has put us in a state of war with Iran and has seriously escalated this tit-for-tat conflict, pushing us deeper into an endless quagmire. So the question is, what's the end goal? What are we trying to achieve here? Trump's policies are short-sighted, damaging, and undermining our national security. We need to get out of Iraq and Syria, bring our troops home. This is the only way that we're going to prevent ourselves from being dragged deeper and deeper into a war with Iran.
What it means is that the US is in firm control of the Israeli lobby. First Gaza, and now this. The US is truly exposed, and there's absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind that its politicians are the loyal servant of a foreign entity called Israel. They work for Israel, not for America, and that is the truth. That's it for me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.